The following is the agenda for the regular Borough Council meeting of the Borough of Pompton Lakes, Mayor and Council, a municipal corporation in the County of Passaic. The meeting will begin at 7:30 p.m. on January 22nd, 2025 in the Municipal Building, 25 Lenox Avenue, Pompton Lakes, New Jersey, consistent with the Open Public Meetings Act. The meeting will be open for public comments and shall be in accordance with the terms and conditions of the borough's municipal code and bylaws.
Please stand for a flag salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a moment of silence for the passing of Councilman Cruz's mother. Thank you. In conformance with the Open Public Meeting Law, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, adequate notice of this meeting setting forth the time, date, place, and purpose of this regular meeting through notice posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, mailed will have requested and paid for same and published in Suburban Trends. Roll call, please.
Mayor Sarah.
Here.
Council President Polidori.
Here.
Councilman Cruz is excused.
Yes.
Councilman Hinton.
Here.
Councilwoman Kent.
Excused.
Excused.
Excused, I'm sorry.
Councilwoman Kilburg.
Here.
Councilman Bennett.
Here.
With us this evening is our Borough Attorney David Gutenberg and our Borough Administrator Michael Correll.
Thank you. It's always my honor to swear in one of our own and one of our new sergeants coming in, Edward Bartlett. So I'm going to come down. Edward, why don't you come up, bring your family. Sure. Well, you gotta do something. Right? Right? Okay. Right ahead, though. I state your name.
I, Edward Bartlett,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
I will bear true faith and allegiance
I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state.
and in this state.
Under the authority of the people,
Under the authority of the people,
I will faithfully,
I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties of
perform all the duties of
police sergeant
police sergeant
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. You want to say anything?
No.
Fill that out, again, Jeff, we'll get a picture. Please come back up. We'll do it.
Future Bible.
It'd be bad to steal a Bible. Whoever wants to be a picture, come on. Mr. Chief, you're welcome.
Sure.
Come on, AJ.
Slide this way.
Now we gotta get it.
Switch it in.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Solid. Okay, whoever wants out before I start the meeting, now's your chance. Okay, we'll move on to our next item, which is a proclamation for Andrew Silverstein. You know, he's been a valued member of our volunteer groups for the last 35 years, which you're going to hear about when I read his proclamation. When you talk about volunteers in Pompton Lakes, he's the name that would come up, involved in numerous places, numerous boards, putting his time and energy in as much as he can in everything he can do. It's what Pompton Lakes is made of. It's what makes Pompton Lakes Pompton Lakes. All the volunteers in our groups do that. Nobody's collecting a paycheck. They're all putting their time and energy in to make the betterment of our community. So with that, I'm going to read a proclamation for him, and then I'm going to ask him to come up and we'll say some more things. Whereas the Borough of Pompton Lakes recognizes Andy Silverstein, a longtime resident of Pompton Lakes, for his generous volunteering service and valuable contribution to our community. Andy was elected as a member of the Board of Education in 1982. During his tenure, Andy served as the president of the board and of the high school, was acknowledged for achieving the National Secondary School Recognition in 1987, a program honoring the nation's top performers, schools celebrating their excellence and accomplishments. Andy served as a member and chairman of the Board of Adjustments from 1985 through 1991, offering his assistance and guidance to those families interested in making improvements to their homes. He served as secretary, vice chairman, and chairman of the planning board from 1992 through 2018. During his tenure serving on the planning board, Andy was involved with the reconstruction of the shopping center after a devastating fire. From the inception and establishment of the redevelopment agency in 2015, Andy has been the appointed chairman through 2024, contributing to the revitalization of the downtown and within Pompton Lakes. Andy has had the trust and respect of those he has served and the opportunity to serve alongside numerous mayors, including Mayor Spinnanger, Mayor Roman, Mayor Sinsheimer, Mayor Murrin, Mayor Cole, and myself. That's a big list of mayors right there to be involved with. Andy resided in Pompton Lakes from 1975 through 2018, where he and his wife Nikki raised their daughter Amy, who graduated from Pompton Lakes High School. Andy and his wife Nikki now reside in Millington, New Jersey, and continue to volunteer and serve in many capacities for various organizations. That door has to be left open. Now, therefore, I, Michael Sarah, Mayor of the Borough of Pompton Lakes, do hereby congratulate Andy Silverstein on his longtime years of volunteer service and his accomplishments for the Borough of Pompton Lakes. We wish to continue happiness and success. I do hereby declare January 22nd, 2025 as Andy Silverstein Day in the Borough of Pompton Lakes.
Well, I'll take one without, and then I'll take one.
You're gonna be in it.
Oh, ready? Sorry.
Okay. So all the people in this room know how hard Andy's worked, including his wife, who spent how many meetings and time and energy out here. Andy's been a friend. He's someone I can rely on to call. And I can tell you this from the bottom of my heart. He's always had the best of Pompton Lakes in his mind. He's always asked and reached out when he had concerns, especially when it came onto the redevelopment board, to try to get the projects done. I can't tell you how many meetings myself, him, Mike Fabrizio, and other members of the redevelopment have taken before we got to this step. So I thank you for your time.
Oh, okay. You want to say? Oh, wait a second. Oh, you're going to go sit down. Okay. I was a little disappointed everybody got up and left. But I think Mike overstates it a bit. I couldn't have done any of this. We couldn't have been on any of these boards without the help of every member that was on those boards. It's easy when you're the chair to get the credit and the recognition, but if you look at the dozens and dozens of people that served on those boards during my tenure, all of them contributed to what we've accomplished. I also wanted to thank Carmen Lori over there. At least on the redevelopment agency, they're the brains behind the operation, as I told them when they came in. You know, I think you know, when you work on some of these boards and some of these projects are controversial, not everybody's going to agree with what's done. Not everybody's going to agree with every decision. But I can tell you that every member of the redevelopment agency has the best interest of the town in mind. It's interesting how on each of these boards, especially the land use boards, there's different things you're trying to accomplish. As the mayor said when he read the proclamation, the Board of Adjustment is one that gives you a lot of pleasure because you're helping people with their homes. You're helping them, and sometimes saying no. And sometimes saying no, but in general, you know, you're trying to help them, you know, stay in Pompton Lakes. Either maybe putting an addition on, putting a pool in, all those different kinds of things that are helpful. The planning board is a little bit more esoteric, I think. You're dealing with, you know, the overall master plan and, you know, certain variances and things of that nature. And the redevelopment agency was something new for all of us. We started that from scratch. I think, though, that, you know, when you look at the Board of Ed, that's where I think people should really try to spend some time, because you can really make a difference on the Board of Ed. I think the national recognition we got was terrific, but even there, the dozens of people that served on that board, the superintendents we had, you know, names that probably some of you don't even remember. Rico Cipolero, okay, whose famous way of closing the schools when it snowed was throw out the cat. And if the cat came back, went for school. It was really very easy. John Kopko, who was a terrific superintendent, who I did learn when I did some of the research, who just passed away. And that was sad to learn. But we accomplished things on the school board. Not only that, we were able to redo the auditorium and kind of put it back to the way it was. So I think we've accomplished a lot as a group. And it takes everyone in town to do this. I was just fortunate enough to be someone that was able to chair it. So I thank you. I thank all of you up there and all of the people up there that served before you. I look back at that mayor's list and say, wow, John Skinner is all the way back there. Man, that's a long time ago. That's a long time ago. But thank you, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
So I'm going to change things just a little bit because we do have a presentation in a minute. But is anybody here to just say congratulations to Andy on anything they did? I'll let you come up real quick and say something. If not, then step right up.
Hi, I'm Abby Novak. Do I give my
Yeah, just say
okay,
that.
okay,
Yeah.
128 Whitney Avenue, Pompton Lakes, New Jersey. And I had the pleasure of working under the chairman on the redevelopment agency. And we also worked on the planning board together. And Andy and I did a lot of work with committees together. And I have to say, Andy, I just marveled at how he could run a meeting, because a lot of times it wasn't an easy meeting to run, and he was very decisive and always could hold his own. We didn't always agree, but he always asked, do you have anything you want to say, Abby? And I always appreciated that, because a lot of times I kind of knew he was probably not thinking on the same way, because we have different perspectives, but he would always listen to my perspective, and I so appreciate that. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else like to just talk about the presentation? Seeing no one? Okay, thank you, guys. Anybody who wants to leave, we're going to do a little presentation now. You're welcome to stay for the whole meeting if you'd like. That's not a problem at all. If you want out, now's your chance. You want to say something? Yeah. Sure, come on. About Mr. Silverstein?
Excuse me?
About Mr. Silverstein? Oh, it'll be next. We'll do it.
You can make something up.
He's a great man.
I'll see you guys. I'll talk to you.
I would stay for the whole meeting, but we've got 2 hour drive.
Yeah, I get you. Okay, so let's move on. Motion, I have a motion with advice and consent of council to appoint James Pacoco as an alternate borough prosecutor to serve for a one-year term ending December 31st, 2025. Can I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Bennett, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, and that moves us now to our affordable housing presentation. And we have Sam here, hi Sam, nice to see you again, haven't seen you in a while.
It's going to be fascinating to see how this document is throughout the presidency. I think it's most important.
Good evening, everybody.
We have three remotes, and if you point it at the wall, you'll turn the other one off, it'll drive you crazy.
Too many coincidences is not a coincidence. Remember, Toby's whereabouts for over 4 hours the night.
It's my favorite channel. How did you know?
Unsubstantiated. But they say one fact is.
Okay.
All right, we're all on the same page.
Okay, we're ready, son, whenever you're ready. Just introduce yourself, tell us what you do, and
Sure. Let me get it started and then. Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is San Chavan. I'm from H2M, and I'm your affordable housing planner. So thank you very much for having me and appointing me. So I'm going to talk about our state mandated 4th round affordable housing obligations and the next step. So this first slide, I'm just giving you a synopsis. I'll give everyone the background information, what a 4th round obligation means, how we can meet the 4th round obligations, and what are the next steps. Okay, so can everyone see the screens?
Yep.
Okay, so municipalities have a constitutional obligation to provide affordable housing. This was mandated through the Fair Housing Act of 1985, which was a legislative response to the exclusionary zoning landmark Mount Laurel cases. And this provided the basis for establishing the Council on Affordable Housing, which was a state agency to administer municipal compliance. And, if you look at this, it started 38 years ago, round one. The second was, from 93 to 99. And the third round, there were numerous iterations. So I just basically, it's for the past 20 years, it's just been so much of iterations. And, so this process has been around for almost 40 years now. And we're in the borough has continued to strive to maintain compliance, although it has intermittent participation in the round 1 and 2, but all the iterations of round 3, the borough has been actively participating and took a lot of initiatives to be in compliance. Now, we are in the 4th round. So what is 4th round? So 4th round is the period from 2025, projecting ahead to 2035. The governor signed this bill, which we call the A4S 50, which got signed on March 20th of last year, and it eliminated COA completely and created new processes, and there were updates and changes to the previous rules. And this legislation also set forth a specific set of guidelines. Now, the legislation enlisted the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, or DCA, to provide calculations which were given to all of us by October 18th, 2024, and the legislation also set forth certain mandatory guidelines. Now, when just giving you an idea, what does this affordable housing consist of? So there are two parts to it. One is the prospective need. So that means in the period from 2025 to 2035, towns need to provide realistic opportunities to contain affordable housing. There is a certain number that was calculated by DCA, and it's calculated at a regional level. And Pompton Lakes belongs to Region 1, which includes municipalities in Bergen County, Hudson, Passaic, and Sussex. And the legislation allocated every town's obligation based on three factors. And I had shared a memorandum just explaining the processes for your understanding. And I apologize, it was very dense, but I tried to simplify it. But there are three factors. One was the land capacity of a municipality, the equalized non-residential value, and income. And everything was calculated, as I mentioned, at a regional level. And that number for Pompton Lakes was 106 units.
So before you go on a little bit, just because we have some new people and people will be watching, just explain in a very simple form what COA means and what
Sure.
they're trying to do with COA.
Sure. So COA is, like I said, it was a state agency, Council on Affordable Housing. Since the past 10 years, the authority has now been given to courts. So what we are required, it's mandatory that every municipality has to provide affordable housing for low and moderate income, and the number is determined by the state. It's not determined at the municipal level. And what that does is compliance with that provides us protection from builders' remedy lawsuit, or nobody can come and challenge us saying that we do not provide housing for low or moderate income. So that is the whole requirement, and that's mandatory as per the Fair Housing Act. So municipalities are required to be in compliance. So that compliance, there are two aspects. The first is what we call prospective need, and you probably went to the league and heard these names been thrown around. And what prospective need basically means, it's that an opportunity needs to be provided for housing for the need from the period of 2025 through 2035, so for the next 10 years. The third round obligation took care of everything from 1995 to 2025, 1999 to 2025. So this prospective need was calculated, as I mentioned, at a regional level. And it was the number that is allocated to the borough is 106 units. And as I mentioned previously, as per the legislation, it was calculated taking into consideration three factors. One is the income at a regional level. It looked at the four counties that I just mentioned. It looks at the land capacity as per the DCA, and it also looks at what your equalized non-residential valuation was. So basically, what your commercial and industrial properties, the value of that is what was examined, and it was for the period from 1993 to 2023. So how things have changed in the past 25 years for you. And that calculation by the state was calculated to be 106. The second aspect, it's not as pressing as this in that you can fund a program or participate in county programs, and the borough has been doing that. But this looks at what is the existing deficient housing that is currently occupied by low or mod income. And that number they generated for us at 45. Now, the legislation also gives us an opportunity to examine these numbers. So we have an option whether we agree with the 106 numbers or we think that it should be lower. And these calculations have to be obviously done within the framework of the legislation that I just mentioned, the A4 bill. What we started to do was, which we've already conducted, is the analysis to really see what is truly our number and to establish our own numbers. And that analysis I basically put together in a memo, I believe, that was circulated, and it's going to be a part of the resolution that our attorney drafted. And then the next step is when you look at, okay, here's the number that the state is giving us. So we have to determine to see whether we truly have land that can realistically develop or present an opportunity to accommodate this affordable housing. And that's called the vacant land analysis. And we've just started conducting that. And I'll go into details as we move along this presentation. So DCA gave locations of developable land. We all know Pompton Lakes is fully developed, right? So they identified 4 properties which they presented all that data. It's available for all of us to review, which is great. So we didn't have to go through identifying, we just had to go through their data. And they identified 4 properties, which then we went ahead and further analyzed. So first was, if you look at the slide to the extreme left, is block 1001, lot 20.01, which is the Tilcon quarry site. Now that was included in the third round plan, so that property is eligible, that's fine. But then there are these 3 parcels, which is 1009 and 1011.01. These were basically DOT right of way. It's not a developable property, and there's no direct street access. It's to the rear of residential properties. And then the one to the right, block 8705 and lot 15.01, that is the location of a municipal pump. So we excluded these 3 properties, and that basically reduced the units by just 1 unit to 105. Then we also looked at the equalized non-residential value, which I just mentioned, and identified, the DC had identified as commercial properties that were inappropriately classified because they were either utilities or utility right-of-way. So we removed all of those properties, which then further reduced the obligation by 1 more unit to 104. So instead of 106, our conclusion is that it should be 104. Now, that 104 is the resolution. So by state, the state requires us to adopt a resolution prior on or before January 31st. So that's why we're here tonight. So the DCA calculations is 106, our calculation is 104. Now, there are different mechanisms in an affordable housing plan, and I'm not saying that's what we should do or not do. I'm just giving a overall, just an overview of how, what are the mechanisms that are available as per the statutes. One of it is redevelopment plans. We just had a conversation about the redevelopment agencies. We identified plenty in the prior round as well. Perhaps zoning. And the prior round enabled us to establish an affordable housing trust fund. So, we could use that money to have group homes, perhaps 100% affordable. There are many ways that one could present mechanisms to address our need. One change with the new legislation is, in the past, for example, if there was a developer who wanted to I don't know, build 6 units, for example, and then there would be some affordable housing obligation, they could do a payment in lieu where they could pay money to the town. That, unfortunately, we can't do that as per the new legislation. I mean, there were talks that they might change that, but I'm not sure if anything happened since the last time I checked. I don't know if our attorney. Uh,
Certainly nothing formal at this point.
right.
So just
And-
so everybody understands, we did have that option in the last round, where you could buy out for some units. We had a number put in place that they would buy out. Right now, at this moment, you can't do that. In this new round, there is talk of changing that, like she said, but right now, nothing.
That's
So what
correct.
does that mean? Projects that were already in the pipeline or under the previous rulings? Anything going forward? Anything that hasn't been?
So what that means is anything that was a part of the prior, they could continue doing
Yeah.
that. From 2025 onwards, so whatever is to address the fourth round, we can't use that option. So, and we've used that in the
payment in
past,
lieu
is why
option.
I included it to give everyone an overview of what the legislation says. Another change is that in the next 4 years, we need to commit using all the trust fund revenues. So that's, I mean, that typically happens. But it's just then another thing that has changed are bonuses. So, for example, in the past, if you provided, say, we had a developer, right? He provided 100, I'm just putting this number out there, 100 units, okay? 15 of those units were affordable. They could get, a town could get 30 credits for that. That has changed. They don't allow that for the fourth round, but you can get credit for being in a redevelopment zone, special needs, senior, which was an important change. In the past, senior housing was restricted to just 25% of your total obligation. So, for example, if your obligation was 100 units, for example, you could only build 25. Now it has changed to 30%, so it's a slight increase.
So we
And
should get some benefit from that, from the
we
new
can
senior,
definitely,
from the new
correct.
senior housing that we're
Correct.
building, because we
So-
were 100% in the last round.
Correct.
So we should gain the 5%.
Correct. So if there are any extra that we couldn't avail of, you can use that in this round. And the bonuses, which is also in the past, so it's nothing new, that they are eligible on units that are built or committed. So, if we have like a redevelopment agreement or some commitment, that's good enough to get us credits. And this is my preliminary read, but I mean, I would request our attorney to correct me if I'm wrong.
No, absolutely.
Okay, so this is basically how we can meet the obligation. And then the last is, what are the next steps? And I have to my right, what the deadlines are. So we are required to have a binding resolution on the obligation. So we have a meeting tonight and we intend to adopt that. What this does is it provides us some form of protection. Nobody can, sue us or anything like that. So it's kind of a protection. We're required to adopt the fourth round affordable plan by on or before June 30th, 2025. So we have next 5 months to do that. And then when you adopt a plan, there are also implementing ordinances or mechanisms or agreements or what have you. Those need to be done. We have more than a year now, but March 15th, 2026. And all of that needs to be uploaded to the state within 48 hours. Our administrator sent a latest email from DCA about how, it should be done, et cetera, et cetera. So now I'm going to talk about what your role is, right? So your role as a borough council on or before Jan 31st, declare a number. So whether you agree with the 106 or whether you agree with the 104. And then when the housing plan gets prepared, it is the role of the planning board, as per the New Jersey land use law, to adopt any kind of master plan or its element. However, the fundamental difference here is you as the governing body you endorse the housing plan, and then once that process goes through as a governing body, you'll adopt a spending plan. What a spending plan means is we recognize that these are our obligation. This is how we are going to prepare for that, and these are our trust fund monies that we would allocate. And this was something that we prepare, but your responsibility, we as in your consultants will prepare, but your responsibility as a governing body member is to adopt the spending plan and any kind of supporting resolutions and ordinances. And that deadline is March 2026. So again, what the next step would be, we've started assessing what's your vacant land. So really to give a true number is how much of land is truly available. So that's what would be a part of our affordable housing plan. So this is it from me. I'm ready to take questions, any concerns.
So first, thank you for making the presentation. So, tonight we have a resolution to adopt what she's talking about for tonight. And then between San and Michael, they'll work out the future of how we move things forward. And then it'll come back to us at some point, to be voted on again. So I'll open it up to you guys. You have any questions for her about,
I just have one question. I'm
Sure.
curious to know, when we implement this and we have, there's building going on in town now and they have affordable housing, how many years are those units affordable housing? Is it for life or
No, for 30 years.
30 years?
So for us to get credits, they have to have a deed restriction for 30 years.
And then what happens to the number
What happens
in 30 years? Like
in
what's,
30, so there are different ways. One of my towns, what we did is the deeds were expiring. You can extend that, or they just go back into being in the market.
has it always been 30 years?
The round two was 20 years. So back in the day, the period from 93 to 99 that I talk about, the round two, it was 20 years. But the numerous iterations of round three, it's always been 30 years.
Okay.
So it changed.
Thank you.
And it's better for us to have 30 years.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, I do. You talked about credits. How do the credits work?
So the
Is
credits.
that one credit per one unit?
So the different, correct. For the most part, it's one credit per unit. Now, if you have a group home, a qualifying group home, the credit is the bedroom. So it just depends, but for the most part, it's one apartment or one house or one, whatever it is, you get one credit for it.
Okay. And the other question I had was calculated at regional level, Region 1, Bergen, Hudson, Passaic, and Sussex. How can those diverse counties all be the same? I mean, how could
They're not.
Sussex
Yeah,
be
they're
like
not.
Hudson County?
They're not.
They don't
They're
want it
not.
to be the same.
I mean,
They're
how does
not.
that compare?
I don't disagree with you, but that's something that has always been. As far as I know, I've been doing this for more than
That's
20.
state set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Set by the
It's
state.
the state. The state has these regions. So it's always been like that. So we're part of, so for example, Region 1 is Bergen, Hudson, Passaic, and Sussex. Region 2 is Essex, Morris, Union, and Warren. Again, counties not similar at all. It's unfortunately, that's how it is.
I can't see how Sussex and Hudson would be the same valuations and, it's just what it is.
It is what it is.
It's an odd heterogeneous
Doesn't make
approach.
sense to me.
Yeah,
So one of the things, we've had conversations in the past, one of the things that really helped us was the group homes that we had. But we did lose one or two group homes in the last couple of years, and that affects our numbers a little bit. So, there's good and bad to group homes, having them in your neighborhoods, but at the end of the day, credit-wise, they're good for us because it counts per bedroom in a group home, which is a little different.
And we also get one additional bonus, which
Right,
is
the bonus.
much better, which is good for us now. But we do need to provide at least whatever our obligation will eventually be, that, our realistic development potential will be. We need to provide at least 50% family units.
a family,
Not
so-
group.
Not a group home, yeah.
All right, any other questions?
And tax-wise, coming into the borough, the affordable units pay the same tax as the,
They do not.
No, they're affordable. Yeah.
They're affordable. You can't assess them.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Son, for
Thank you
coming.
very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on. Motion to open the meeting for public comments. Councilman Bennett, Council President Polidori, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address? Please step up. You just, yeah, go ahead. She's gonna have to, you can talk right here.
So I just wanted, I have two things. but-
Sure, you can ask her, sure.
Oh, yeah.
So you say they expire after 30 years.
Correct.
So then, do we have anything that's expiring?
I would say no, right? I don't think we do.
Maybe 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, but not now.
Yeah, not right now.
Could those 6 or 7 years, could we use those expiring units to fulfill?
A new obligation, that's a good question, I don't know.
Yes, the round, not as of now, but there'll be fifth round and sixth round, definitely.
Okay, so
But
we should keep it,
does-
That's a good question, yeah.
I guess my question would be then, does the HOA itself do they have to accept that?
Do they have to?
So if they're a part of an HOA, does the HOA have to accept them as affordable housing after 30 years?
Well, I would defer to our attorney because I might make a mistake, but my understanding is, because I've done this for one of my towns where, was that the first thing is that if it's expiring, if we need to know as the municipality, and then we get the first dib, if you will. And if someone wants to sell it, for example, if it's a ownership, that's I'm most familiar with. So for example, if they bought a house for 30,000 and today it's 300,000, right? They just get the difference. They don't get all of that. There's a 95.5%. So that's
They're selling right now for fair market value, and they're also renting them. So that's an issue. And there's no one to contact. There's no one to call.
okay. So that is more of enforcement issue.
So yes, but they're owned. They're not not a rental
So
property, but they're not a.
So I've done this in one of my towns where the neighbors are always helpful, but they want to be anonymous. So we got an anonymous call that somebody was renting. So we basically at that time sent the inspectors out, and they basically caught them. And that unit then got sold to somebody who deserves it because this person. But for our purposes, that's administration portion of it. But for our purposes, these are the important things. Like if there are units that are expiring, then we have an opportunity to talk to them. They may want to extend or they may not want to extend. I mean, I defer to our attorney if he thinks anything else.
No, agreed.
And if there's someone doing that, they could be reported to the building department.
Yeah.
And then it would check into that.
To the town?
To the town
Because-
that someone
okay.
thinks they're renting out a COA unit. If they're renting out, you're not allowed to rent out a COA unit.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah, so. And that's it? Or you have another question?
A second.
Go ahead.
Oh, sure.
Oh, but not.
No, go ahead, you can ask. Go
This
ahead.
is just a
General question, go for
Okay,
it.
so do I give my?
Yeah, same thing, yeah.
Abby Novak, 128 Woodhaven.
Yep.
Okay, so, anyway, I'm speaking as myself, but I have been a member of the redevelopment agency for 10 years. Prior to that, I was a member of the planning board and open space. And I'm here because we've been around redevelopment agency for 10 years. And I've been there since conception. And during that time, we've had, 2007, we had the master plan. And within the master plan, we talked about design standards. And I've been mentioning design standards, as you know, for quite some time. So I'm hoping 2007, we had design standards that were required or suggested that we develop them for redevelopment and I guess other development within town. And then in 2017, we had the master plan reexamination. And again, I'm just going to read it on page 30. it is recommended that the borough consider developing design guidelines addressing all types of development, possibly in the form of a pattern book that provides visual examples. Such a document can guide the type.
Abby, just go over to the microphone too so we can hear. You know, go, there you go. Perfect.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there we go. Such a document can guide the types of design elements that the borough finds to be aesthetically acceptable. The guide should include, but not be limited to, building materials, facade treatments, street furnishings, parking layouts and options, hard and soft landscape elements, green infrastructure, lighting, and signage. So these are in our planning documents. We've been working as a redevelopment agency for 10 years, and we don't have them. And last year, I had a little bit of hope that we were going to finally get them. In 2024, Andy, who we just recognized, and I met with Kristen Russell, I believe her last name is, from Collier. And we discussed putting together a presentation for you, I think all of you, on the cost of what design standards would be. So I was hopeful, and that was in spring of 2024. But I found out in November that it wasn't in the budget. So here we are in 2025. We have no design standards, and I think it's a big missed opportunity because we have, you know, we have things in progress. We have construction that's been completed, a big project that's in the process, and things coming down the pike. Plus, we have opportunity for renovation. But without design standards, we lack planning. And without planning, we're just not going to do as well as we could have. So with that said, I would like you all to take a look again at the opportunity to have design standards and to give us that tool so we can speak with, you know, with a vision, one vision, rather than look at what each individual contractor brings to us. Because then we're implementing their vision, and of course their vision is not cohesive. It's their individual vision that, you know, self-serving mostly. So with that said, I don't know if anybody understands what design, well, I'm sure some of you do.
I'm just going to jump in real quick.
But we have design standards.
We do.
Take a look.
And we, if you saw last week's meeting, I usually don't answer now, but just because she came and presented just what you're saying, but I'll answer when you're done.
Okay.
Okay.
So I would really like us to have that going forward, because what we're doing is we're giving out a lot of variances with each project, but they're variants that are asked without a comprehensive plan in mind. And I can't think that that would be the most appropriate way to go about changing Pompton Lakes and changing it for the best. So I think I don't want to quote what I heard, but I don't think it's that much money compared to what we're doing in town. And it would really make a huge difference. Now, I know that we had, I think, Debbie, forgetting her last name. Yeah, well, she gave us Point Pleasant's design standards. And I tried to access them from Point Pleasant's website, but they're no longer available to the public, or they weren't when I checked. So I just went on and did a Google search and got New Providence's design standards. And it's such a comprehensive piece of information. And can I give it to you all?
Give it to Liz and she'll give it to us.
Okay, because, not that this is the be-all and the end-all, but it's pretty good. And I think that it would be wonderful if we could meet with like some of our committees, Shade Tree, our historic agency or commission, and really put together something comprehensive for Pompton Lakes. And so we could all speak, all of our, even like, we could have our redevelopment, we could have our planning, our zoning, everybody speaking with one voice, with one vision in mind. And of course, a little nod to the past, because we have a really wonderful past with a positive outlook for the future. We could really have some wonderful things in Pompton Lakes. And it's not too late. And the things that we have done, I'm not saying that they're bad, I'm just saying that let's take a look and make sure we're doing it the best way we possibly can. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else from the public like to address? Please step up.
Hi, I'm Judith Braderick, 21 Albert Street. And I'm back to the street signs. I think a lot of the street signs are are up. They started in the north end of town by Ringwood Avenue. So Klug Street has a sign, and Willard Street has a sign that says Willard Avenue. I live on Albert Street. There's still the old sign. And what I'm concerned about is it's just very small street, but if there's an emergency and stuff, it's really hard to see the sign, for fire or ambulance so that's what I'm complaining about.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session?
So moved.
Council President
Second.
Polidori, Councilwoman Kilberg, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, Abby. It is in the budget this year to do. We are in the process of putting committees together from all the groups you mentioned to do design standards. I do have the Point Pleasant design standards, which I can give to you. Kristen did come to the meeting last week, the council meeting, to present the idea of how we're going to go about doing that and how it's going to be. What we're envisioning is members from this board, members from the planning board, members from the zoning board, members from the redevelopment board, with input from other groups who want to come to those meetings can also put input. She'll put together a plan, then this council will vote on that plan, and then that will be incorporated into everything we do as we move forward. So I think all boards, including this board, agree that we do need it. It's something that is needed, just to give us a direction on which way we're going. And Kristen, when we spoke to her, before this all took place, said the only deficit she sees in the whole redevelopment plan that we have here is that piece of it. So we are going to implement that, and the process has started. Mike, it is in this budget, right, this year? Right? So it is in this budget this year to do that. Okay? Street signs. Unfortunately, we couldn't get them all in at one time this year. In the spring, they'll be putting in the second phase of all the street signs, and they'll be in. Is that correct, Mike?
Yes.
So by the end of probably the spring of next year, all the streets... No, you can't, unfortunately. All the street signs will be put in, and every street will have a new sign, both sides. So everybody should have new street signs by the end of spring, okay? Okay. Where are we? Motion to approve the following minutes. Closed meeting minutes, January 8th, regular meeting minutes, January 8th. Can I have a motion?
Second?
Who's first?
Made the motion? Yes.
You were first?
I thought I heard somebody else speak.
So you're the first?
Council President.
I'll second it. I didn't say anything.
All right, so Councilwoman Kilberg and Councilman Bennett. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Authorizing the payment of bills as listed below. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Councilman Bennett, Councilman Hinton, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Does anybody need anything removed from the consent agenda?
Well, I had seven,
But now you're good.
Administrator answered all my questions.
I'm going to jump all over that. Okay, Liz, go ahead, go for it.
Whereas the mayor and the borough council of the borough of Pompton Lakes has reviewed the consent agenda consisting of various proposed resolutions, whereas the mayor and council of the borough of Pompton Lakes does not desire to remove resolutions for individual action from that agenda, now therefore be it resolved the following resolutions on the consent agenda are hereby approved. Resolution 25-65 through 25-83.
Motion to approve the resolutions.
So moved.
Councilman Hinton, what was the other, who was
Second.
it? Councilwoman Kilberg, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? All right, ordinances, Liz, can we group these?
No, no.
No, can't group the field ones?
For final action later? Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Liz, we'll start with the first one.
Ordinance 25-06, an ordinance amending chapter 2 of the revised general ordinances of the borough of Pompton Lakes governing workplace conduct.
Motion to approve ordinance 25-06 for introduction.
Motion.
Council President Polidori,
Second.
Councilman Hinton,
Discussion?
discussion, go ahead.
Can you just give us the general overall?
Thank you. This ordinance is in response to a prior discussion amongst the governing body that governs volunteer workplace conduct, specifically first responding agencies, and establishes a policy for discipline. So this was the ordinance that we had discussed as a group and is on for introduction.
In a phrase, it broadens the umbrella of municipal organizations that are now responsible to adhere to
Our code
the
of conduct.
workplace conduct policies
So it
of the
brings
borough.
volunteers in line with what expectations of employees would be?
Yes.
And what would be a disciplinary action? Is it prohibiting from volunteerism? Is it?
It is all those that are listed within the, on the top of the third page: termination, suspension, retraining, written reprimand, or verbal reprimand, depending upon the severity. It is not progressive.
It's not. So if there was so let's just say hypothetically someone is found to have broken the code of conduct and is sent for training, and then the following year repeats the same pattern. We go back to training, or can you escalate it to the next? It's not.
You can escalate it at that point. You can go to suspension, termination, depending upon the severity.
Is that written out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in most cases, we would consult with our labor council on the type of discipline.
Who has also reviewed this ordinance?
Yes, they have looked at it. So normally, just so the council knows, when there is an incident like that, we ask our labor council to give us their advice on what they recommend to us. Doesn't mean we have to do it, but it's a recommendation from somebody who is in that field. And I'd say 90% of the time, we kind of follow that recommendation. And usually the administrator would bring that to us, that information in closed session on what we're going to do.
And this covers all volunteers also?
It does.
Anybody who's a volunteer in the town.
Will all the volunteers get a copy of this, or rules and regs, or the do's and don'ts?
I was going to conclude by saying the borough will distribute this to all volunteer organizations and first responding agencies.
It covers first responding agencies as well?
Yes.
It does.
Specifically the fire department and the first aid squad.
Okay. And are we asking that when the materials are distributed, that whoever is either the chair of a certain committee or in charge of a certain group, perhaps one meeting, they dedicate to highlight, we have a narrative or a script that we share with them so that that information can be, and are we having anyone sign, I've read the code of conduct?
Absolutely, but yes to both. And just to tack on to that, we are in the process of updating our employee handbook. So this ordinance will specifically be put into the handbook, which will then be given to all the appropriate.
But our volunteers don't get the handbook.
No.
Right. But
So going to Council President's point, are we going to have volunteers sign off on they understanding what we're talking about?
I mean, that would only protect us, wouldn't it? That you can hand it out, but if they don't acknowledge that they've read it or that they understand the information, how would we know that they even?
Right, we'll come up with some sort of distribution process and acknowledgement.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll work with the attorney.
Okay.
Okay. All right, roll call, please.
Councilman Hinton.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gilbert.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pallador.
Yes.
Councilman Bennett.
Yes.
Ordinance 25-07, an ordinance amending Chapter 29 of the Revised General Ordinances of the Borough of Pompton and amending the tree removal protection and replacement ordinance to include an exemption from invasive trees.
Motion to approve ordinance 2507 for introduction.
Motion.
Councilman, who was that? Venon? I'm sorry, Councilman Hinton, Councilman Venon. There's a second. Any discussion on that? This is what we talked about last meeting. Okay.
Just a quick, it doesn't have to be as thorough as the first one.
Yep, just this exempts invasive species from the tree ordinance, specifically with having to pay a fee in lieu of planting or enforcement with our tree replacement schedule.
Okay.
And this is determination from our forester.
Yes, at the discretion of the borough forester on what specifically is an invasive species.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Hinton.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gilbert.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pallador.
Yes.
Councilman Bennett.
Yes.
Ordinance 25-08, an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank for calendar year 2025 state statute.
Okay, Mike, give us what that's about before.
I believe you need
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
Motion.
Second. Council President Polidori, Councilwoman Kilberg.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a standard ordinance that we adopt every year. The state law authorizes an increase in current year appropriations based on consumer price index that is 2.5% for 2025. It allows the borough to pass an ordinance to increase our budget appropriations in the coming budget by an additional 1% to the maximum of a 3.5% increase over the prior year appropriation. So to put it simply, we cannot raise our operating budget by more than 3.5% from last year. And this ordinance extends it from 2.5% to 3.5%. Thank you.
Any questions, concerns? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Hinton.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gilbert.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pallador.
Yes.
Councilman Benton.
Yes.
Okay.
Final adoptions? We're going to take them one at a time.
One at a time?
Yeah.
Okay. Ordinance 2501, ordinance authorizing the mayor and borough clerk to execute a lease amendment with the Pompton Lakes Riverdale Little League.
Motion to approve ordinance 25-01 for final adoption.
Motion.
Council President Polidori,
Second.
Councilman Hinton, roll call, please.
Do we have a public hearing?
I was going to say.
Yeah, we need a,
Oh, there is no, it's not listed
Yeah,
here. All right, motion to open the meeting for public comment on ordinance 25-01. We can't do 02 and 03 at the same time?
yeah, let's group them, Liz.
Okay,
Let's
thank
start
you.
over.
Okay. Ordinance 2501, 02, 03, and that was it. Yeah,
Yep.
03. There
Correct.
are ordinances to execute a lease amendment for Pompton Lakes Riverdale Little League, Pompton Lakes Riverdale Soccer Association, and the Pompton Lakes Youth Organization.
Okay, motion to open meeting for public comments on just these ordinances, 2501, 2502, and 2503.
Motion.
Council President
Second.
Polidori, Councilwoman Kilberg, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone like to discuss just these three? Seeing no one, motion to close the public session.
Motion.
Councilman Bennon, Council President Polidori, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Roll call, please, on all three. 2501, 2502, 2503.
Who made the motion?
Bennon and Council President Polidori.
I'm sorry.
Bennon and Jen.
Okay.
To adopt.
Okay, to adopt, yes.
To adopt or close public session?
That was to close public session.
Session,
You need a
that's
motion.
Oh, I
Need
thought
a
that
new
was,
motion to
I-
all right,
adopt.
could I have a motion to approve, I thought I said this, motion to approve ordinance 2501,
We did a
20
do-over.
2502, 2503.
Motion.
Council
Second.
President Polidori, Councilwoman Kilberg,
All right.
roll call, please.
So, I'm sorry, Polidori and Gilbert?
Gilbert.
Yes,
Yes.
yep.
Was to
Correct.
adopt.
Okay. Councilman Hinton?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gilbert?
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori?
Yes.
Councilman Benton?
Yes.
Okay. So now we're ordinance 25-04.
Correct.
Ordinance authorizing the mayor and borough clerk to execute a tower lease agreement and repeater utilization agreement with North Jersey Police Radio Association. We have to open.
Yes, motion to open the meeting for comment, public comment on 25-04.
Motion.
Council President Polidori,
Second.
Councilman Hinton, anyone from the public like to address just this ordinance? Seeing no one, motion to close the public session on ordinance 25-04.
Motion.
Councilman Bennon,
Second.
Councilman Hinton, roll call, please.
Motion to adopt now.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's where I get screwed.
Yeah, me too.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2504.
Motion.
Council President
Second.
Polidori, Councilwoman Kilberg, roll call, please.
Councilman Hinton?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gilbert?
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori?
Yes.
Councilman Benton?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 25-05, an ordinance to fix the salaries of the employees of the borough of Pompton Lakes in the county of Passaic and state of New Jersey.
Motion to open the meeting for public comment on ordinance 25-05.
Motion.
Councilman Bennon,
Second.
Council President Polidori, anyone from the public like to address just this ordinance 25-05? Please step up.
Jay Trumbauer, 130 Legion Street. What do you mean by fix? Does that mean adjust, or does that mean keep them the same and they can't be changed?
Okay, I'll answer at the end. Thank you. Anyone else? Motion to close the public session on ordinance 25-05.
So moved.
Councilwoman Kilberg,
Second.
Councilman Hinton, Mike, you want to answer that question?
Just simply put, those bolded within the ordinance are those that needed to be fixed, whether it be to lower the minimum or to increase the maximum range. The remainder of the positions are the same.
Okay, where am I? Motion to approve ordinance 25-05 for final adoption.
Motion.
Council President Polidori,
Second.
Councilman Hinton, roll call, please.
Councilman Hinton.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gilbert.
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes.
Councilman Bennett.
Yes.
Okay, under my report, I have a motion with advice and consent of council to appoint Anna DeGroat as a part-time crossing guard. Can I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Bennett, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion with consent of council to appoint Michael Fasiletto as a member of the Board of Health to fill an unexpired term until December 31st, 2027. Can I have a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Kilberg, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion, oh no, we're going to skip 3. I would like a full council here for that vote, so, because it's an important board. So, and I'm going to motion to appoint Chris Foster as Class 4 member of the Planning Board to fill an unexpired term until December 31st, 2027. There's no motion on that one.
No, is it alternate too?
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, that is to be not a Class 4, that's to be an alternate 2, Liz.
This is Chris Foster,
This is Chris Foster, yes.
alternate 2.
Yeah, the planning board last night, they decided to go that route, yes.
Is that open position though?
Yes, because they moved to Class,
Did you let- This is for the planning board?
planning board. So the only alternate right now should be Sean,
Alternate 2, okay.
Yep,
Yes,
okay.
it is open.
okay. Under my report, I attended the planning board meeting.
Did we need to vote on that? I don't think
Ma-
we voted. Did we vote?
No, it's just a
No.
point.
No, that's
Oh,
an
okay.
appointment, sorry.
I attended the planning board meeting, which is just a reorg meeting, and we'll be adding some new members to that board. I attended the open space meeting, which there was a long discussion, and I thank Michael and our engineering for coming and explaining the whole Will Field talk there. That was there. I attended the environmental environmental club meeting. I want to thank our DPW for the storm cleanup. Normally I get a lot of calls if things are not done right on the storms from residents, and I got 0 calls this year except for a couple on Colfax Avenue. But Colfax Avenue is not done by our guys, it's done by the county. So, all in all, they did a great job. And I have to thank the residents for getting their cars off the street. That's real important when we're plowing to make sure the cars are off the street. We're pretty lenient on letting your cars park whenever you want during the year. All we ask is during a snow emergency, you remove those cars. We are going to ticket if you leave your car on the street. So there was a couple cars left on Wanacue Avenue. They were ticketed. A couple left on Ringwood Avenue. It's tough for the plows to get around, but all in all, they did a great job, and I want to thank them for that. We met with our planner about some upcoming events that we'll be having, and that is my report, a short report. Council President Polidori.
Thank you. So I met again with a representative from the VFW to discuss the upcoming flags project for the street along Wanacue Ave, and have reached out to the borough administrator and asked that we put that on for the first February meeting. They would like to send someone in to come in and walk the council through the selection of flags, placement of flags, and put a finalization on that so they can move forward and have them up for the spring. I want to remind, I attended a paint and sip fundraiser for the First Aid Squad, which was well attended, so I want to thank the First Aid Squad for their efforts in continuously putting programs out there to raise funds for their needs and for all that they do for the community. I also want to remind everyone that we have a community dinner at the church, which is open to all residents. It is free to attend. That is this coming Thursday night. And also, we have an event coming up on January 30th, which is a Thursday. It's being sponsored by the Pompton Lakes Prevention Coalition. They are hosting a Hardwood Classic at the Pompton Lakes High School, doubleheader game with prizes, contests, and other activities in between the games, as well as concessions. This is an opportunity for the community to come together and spend a night out with activities and sports in a drug and alcohol-free environment. So we're very excited that this is taking place this week. The information is on social media, so I ask that you do please make best efforts to attend and root your teams on. And I had a representative from MRC reach out to me to see where we were at, and if you want to discuss this in your administrator's report. They have, I guess we haven't really gotten back in touch with them to let them know if we're ready to move forward with the upgrades to Hirschfield Park. He did want to bring to my attention that because of where we are with delivery times, they're looking at approximately 12 weeks out from order to delivery. So if we have some type of a working time frame moving forward with that, we do need to take into consideration that from the time we make a decision to move forward, it could be up to possibly 3 months before we have the equipment delivered. And then I just want to bring back attention to this motion that was skipped. I'm not sure why it was skipped. We had it on here. I have some concerns with the way that some of these recommendations are made. We have a resident who now has asked twice through the last 2 appointments for that board to be considered. He has emailed numerous council people, and for whatever reason, he's being overlooked, and this name was put in, and then this motion was pulled. So I'm just not sure why we do that. And
I'll explain that. It's my motion. I'll decide who gets on the motion. And
that's a very, let's say.
no, it's my job is, I'm sorry, I thought you were finished.
Okay, so, and it's my motion sounds a little bit childlike.
I thought you had a report. Finish your report.
Resident, don't talk to me like that while I'm giving my report.
You just told me that, so go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead and tell us all why you only choose your friends for all these boards.
Okay,
Report done.
It is, now it is, because
It's
I'm
not-
going to get interrupted over and over again anyway, so
I'm waiting. Are you finished with your report?
I'm finished.
Thank you. So now I'll answer your question.
I didn't ask you a question.
Okay, well, I'm going to answer it. It's the mayor's appointment. You guys vote on consent. This is an important board, a redevelopment agency. I have 2 council people missing. They should be part of that agreement, that discussion. That's an important part for this town. I'm not going to let 2 people missing have an opportunity to speak on this, so I'm putting it off. And you say I have lots of friends. Most of the people on the boards are my friends. That doesn't make them someone who can't be on a board because they're my friend. So that is my answer to you. Councilman Hinton. You have some motions. You want to start with them?
Do you want me to start with?
Yeah, whatever you want to do.
Okay. Motion to approve the request of Pompton Lakes Riverdale Little League to conduct the annual parade that leaves Pompton Lakes High School parking lot Saturday, April 5th, 2025, at 12 noon and marches through the business district to Joe Grill Little League Complex near the south end of town for opening ceremonies. During the parade, the police department will temporarily close the route. Portions of this route include county roads. Notify Passaic County for road closure.
Can I have a second? Second. Councilman Menon, all in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Next motion. Motion to approve request to close the Hirschfield Park tennis courts to the public for the Lakeside School Gifted and Talented Team to hold an annual statewide remote control solar car competition race on Tuesday, May 20th, 2025, from 7:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. with a rain date of May 22nd, 2025.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Council President Polidori, all in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Motion to approve a carnival license application by the Pompton Lakes Elks, Chapter 1895, to be held at 15 Parent Ave, Pompton Lakes, New Jersey, on the following dates and time. Thursday, August 21st, 2025, from 6 p.m. through 10 p.m. Friday, August 22nd, 2025, 6 p.m. through 10 p.m. Saturday, August 23rd, 2025, 4 p.m. through 10 p.m. And Sunday, August 24th, 2025, 4 p.m. through 10 p.m. No alcoholic beverages to be served at any carnival or on the premises of the licensee during the conduct of the carnival. No licenses granted under this article may be assigned or transferred by the licensee. Violation of penalties subject to fines.
You want to read that last part?
Oh, the application to be reviewed, inspected by police, fire prevention, first aid, construction official, and the health department.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Bennett, all in favor?
Aye.
Look at you, you got a lot to say here. You got another one.
Well, this is like Lennox School.
It's your big day.
Success. When I was a boy. Motion to approve Pompton Lakes Prevention Coalition Walk for Hope in conjunction with the Stigma-Free Campaign and Mental Health Awareness Month to be held on May 18th, 2025, rain or shine. Registration is at 9 a.m. at the Pompton Lakes High School. Walk to begin at 11 a.m. from Pompton Lakes High School to Ramapo Ave and ending at Hirschfield Park and returning to the Pompton Lakes High School using the same reverse route. Walk route approved by police, county permits not required. Police, fire, and first aid notified.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Kilburg, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Now your report, please.
I'm tired.
I'm sure you are.
I went to the open space meeting that unfortunately Councilwoman Kent couldn't make. She was ill. And the mayor came at that open space meeting on January 9th. And he gave pretty much a report on all the goings-on that are going on with open space, Willow Field Improvement Project, Hirschfield Park, Lakeside Park upgrades, Lakeside Park, Muller acquisition upgrades, and the open space 2025 reappointments, correct? At the time, there were some questions in open space, and Mayor Serra advised that the mayor and council voted to move forward with allocating the funds for the project. Explained that there is no yes/no vote on the project. Now, I've constantly had an issue with that. Only on allocating funds to the project. I mean, the project was never approved by this council. We are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a project that was never voted on by this council. Now, the analogy that you had made at the meeting was that in road work, as our administrator would say, agree, we don't have a vote on road work. But road work is necessary work. This project in Willow Field isn't as necessary as road work. This is just something that the Little League had wanted, and I can understand in the beginning, in order to make applications to the DEP, we needed to allocate funds for the engineering of it. But this project is just continuing to go through without a vote from the council that we even want this project. And this, I just don't understand.
That's the process of how it's done. We vote on the money from open space being spent. That's what we vote on.
Correct. But I mean, the project itself was never really brought up to the council that we want to do this project. This project has just been.
No, well, the vote is to put the money to do the project. That's what you're voting on.
I thought that we get to vote when we decide on, like, the plan, when it's,
We do.
when
There is a
when
vote.
we're given, how much it's gonna cost, and then
Yes,
we
that's
decide
money,
whether we
right.
want to appropriate the money or not.
Correct, that's
when we
voting on the
vote.
money, yes, we vote with the money.
We vote on approving the project, 100%.
No, we voted just on the money spent, correct?
Well, there will be a bond ordinance in the
Mhm,
near
and that-
future,
that's what we do.
and that's to appropriate funding for the project.
Correct.
And then afterwards, in a meeting in the near future, the governing body would hopefully be authorizing the award of a bid for the project. So
Mhm.
those are the two formal actions that are required of this governing body.
Correct.
I think, and that's the vote, yes or no. Well, you know what I mean? When
Well, it's a
you're-
yes or no on those two things.
Yes, so, I mean, but if it was a no, like if someone wanted to vote no on the project, they would vote no for the.
If that's what they
Okay.
wanted to do,
Yeah.
yeah, they could do that,
Either
yes.
of those.
Right.
Yes.
Because we had a vote in open space to allocate another 150,000 to the project if the project was approved by the council. But
So as you know, the open space is an advisory board on how to spend the money. So what they're requesting is us to spend that money. So we vote to spend that money if we want to spend that money. We don't vote per project on the actual project. So in the past, we haven't voted on, when we do the Mueller project, for example, when we fix that up, we're not going to vote, is the Mueller project a project we want to vote on, yes or no? We're going to vote, do we want to put the money from open space to spend to fix up the project? That's what we're going to vote on.
And the rest of the money. That's not a full and complete.
That, what we do,
That's a separate one for the bond ordinance, yeah.
Yeah, so, but we always vote on whether or not we're using open space funds, but there are numerous votes that take place after that for the completion of the entire project.
Yeah.
The whole thing doesn't completely begin, middle, and end and reside in voting yes on open space money.
no, I don't, but that starts the project, and then the next step would be him to go out to bid, and we'd vote on that part of it.
But we've done projects where we haven't used open space money and we vote on that too.
I don't think that I remember any projects where we didn't
We
use
did
open space.
improvements on Stiles Park without using open space funds while I was sitting up here. I worked with Kevin Boyle on it.
Yeah, but we didn't
Council
vote
voted
on that. We didn't vote on it as a council on that.
Of course we
awarded
did.
We awarded it to him to do it, but we didn't
But
vote
that's,
on
but
it.
that's our no. If you vote no on that, then.
Well, that's what I'm
figure it
saying. I
out.
can
Is
vote
it-
no on the award, yes.
Yeah,
but
so
there's no-
you would vote yes or no on the award of the bid and
Correct.
the
Yes.
bond, and
Correct.
that would be your yes or no vote.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've said from the beginning, yeah.
I'm just learning,
Okay,
and I'm questioning.
okay.
Because at the last meeting, we had a straw poll.
Straw poll to move forward, so the administrator could move forward with something. Because there's steps after we talk that he has to follow up.
Okay, because I went to Robert's Rules and it says about straw polls, which are votes taken just to find out what people think about a proposal,
Right.
but not resulting in action.
That's correct.
That's correct.
It is not a formal, you have not taken formal action when you do a straw poll. The straw poll is only to make sure there's enough support that warrants the business administrator taking the next steps before bringing, which will ultimately lead to bringing something back to this board for formal action.
Okay, because so far we have the Flood Advisory Board and the Shade Tree Committee that was against this project. But obviously that doesn't seem to have any bearing on anyone's.
Individually, it could, if you're an individual. Everyone has their own vote if they're going to fund the project or not.
Okay, that'll be at a later date.
Yes.
Okay. I also attended the MUA meeting, and very interesting. Just a lot of questions. I'm learning that also. One of my main questions was, with all the fires out in California, if anything, God forbid, was to happen like that to us, would we have a water supply? We wouldn't have empty hydrants. And they assured me that with our wells and our water aquifer underneath, we wouldn't have a problem at all. So that was reassuring. And then one of our council members who lives in the south end of town, who was concerned about odors, I asked about the odors sometimes coming from the MUA, and they said they're doing a lot of venting, they're doing a lot of work to alleviate those odors in the south end of town. So, but learning the terminology, and when they gave me the chart on how many millions of gallons Pompton Lakes uses per year, like over 300 million gallons, I thought right away that I need to turn my sprinkler off. You know, it was just unbelievable the amount of water that the town does use. So that was very interesting. And I was asking questions about the sewerage capacity of the plant itself for all these new projects that we have coming up. And from all the projects that we have now coming up, we have plenty of storage capacity for that. So those were some of the interesting questions I needed to ask. And then I attended the Shade Tree Commission. as a citizen for the first time. And Councilwoman Kent couldn't make that either. So basically, the Shade Tree Commission is just delegating out the work that their past member, Mr. Hinton, did. So,
Well, I have an extra question, since you were there. Is it a gentleman named Amy? Or
Andy.
Andy.
Andy Dixon.
So, was there someone else at the meeting that was supposed to be asked to be on? Wasn't it Amy, Liz?
No, Kalen
I
O'Connor.
don't have that information.
Was there
Kalen
somebody
O'Connor
new?
is the next one that wants to come on.
Okay.
And you couldn't make
Yeah,
the
I had a
meeting.
meeting.
And Ann needs to be, the chairman, Ann Tassinelli needs to be sworn in again.
Okay, but, so there is another name that Ann put forward to us.
Kalen O'Connor,
She
yes.
wants to move a position too. He wanted
To
to
an
take-
alternate position.
She wants to move an alternate into a regular position, I believe.
All right, so we'll have to get that straight with Ann,
Yeah, we'll
where she
straighten
wants it. Okay,
It'll be on the first meeting in
in
February.
February, okay.
And I just was watching Channel 77 today. I was watching the Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. Great picture, no sound. I don't know if anybody looks at Channel 77 to make sure everything's running smooth, but
It's first I've heard of it. Have we heard that yet, Liz or Mike?
I don't live in town, but.
and I watched it today, and
All right, so we'll look into it. We know we do have problems, so we'll look
yeah,
into it.
just bringing that up. And want to say the DPW did a hell of a job with the last snow. 9 o'clock in the morning, I was having breakfast, there was a knock on the door, and I want to thank young Logan and his sister Juliana, asked if they could shovel my sidewalk, and I said, no problem. They were Lennox school kids. Juliana's in 5th grade, and her brother is, I guess, in 3rd grade. They did a nice job.
Good.
Cost me a few dollars, but
So I can knock on your door and I can get paid for shoveling?
yes, you can.
All right, I'm
If
in.
you want to shovel my snow, that's
All right,
fine.
good.
And, let's see, one last thing. A resident called me about, out on his walks, a lot of the sidewalks aren't shoveled. Now, from what I understand from Dan O'Rourke, residents have 48 hours to shovel their sidewalks. And we're past that now, so I was wondering, is there somebody, this property?
So we are
Maintenance
proactive.
go
So if
out?
somebody wants to call and make a complaint about a sidewalk, we'll go investigate it, but we don't drive around looking for sidewalks. So if a resident feels it's unsafe, they should just make a call to the building department and then they'll send somebody out.
All right, does the property maintenance man, does he do, ride around town?
No, he doesn't have the
check?
time. They're part-time, they don't have the time to do that. They're busy doing inspections. You know, if there's an issue and we're called in for some house or for some sidewalk or whatever it is, they will definitely go look at it. But they don't drive the whole town after
Well,
every
it's
storm.
not a they, it's just one man, Don Lindbergh, correct?
Well, it depends who could do it. It could be the building supervisor. Sal could do it also.
Sal would ride around?
He could, yeah, sure.
But John himself, Lindbergh, does not do,
No, he does not drive around looking, no.
looking for issues.
Right.
Okay, that's my report.
Thank you. Where am I? Councilman Bennett. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Kilburg.
I would like to first send my deepest condolences to Councilman Bobby Cruz and his family on the loss of his mother. I would like to say thank you to Andy Silverstein for all his years of service to the town. And I would like to congratulate Sergeant Bartlett on his promotion. At this month's library board meeting, they passed a resolution to support a fiscal year 2025 Passaic County Open Space Farmland and Historic Preservation Grant application for $100,000. If awarded, this would bring the total grant money to $700,000 for the work needed at the library. So keep our fingers crossed. I attended the Environmental Protection Committee meeting, and they are starting to plan this year's river cleanup that will be held on Sunday, May 4th. I attended my first planning board meeting last night, and I look forward to working with everyone. Recreation. You can avoid the cold and walk indoors at Lakeside Middle School Tuesdays and Thursdays from 7 to 8 p.m. through May 4th, 2025. Get Fit classes are held on Mondays and Wednesdays from 7 to 8 p.m. It's $40 for 10 classes or a $5 drop-in fee, and classes run through March 6th. Pickleball is Saturdays at Lincoln School until February 1st from 9 to 11 a.m. The drop-in fee is $15 a person. and I just have one question. Last year around this time, we were told that the Civic Center was going to be worked on and would be done in a few months. And then it was supposed to be done by the fall. And I haven't seen anybody do anything to it.
It's funny, I was just asking our administrator about it, and they're waiting on the final one permit, is that right, Michael?
Yes, we're waiting on the plumbing subcode to come in. We have everything else that we need to give out the permit, and at that point, it's up to our developer to start the project. So we're definitely moving ahead this year. We had issues with some of their drawings that had to be corrected with our construction official, and it took some time to do that, unfortunately. Meridia had gone through a change in architects, change in project managers, so that just delayed it a little bit.
And where does the permit come from?
The borough.
Oh,
Yep.
well, then it shouldn't take that long.
We're very close.
We're close, we're getting there. Is that your report?
Thank you. Yes,
Thank you.
that's my.
Councilman Bennett.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to congratulate Sergeant Bartlett on his promotion to sergeant tonight. Heartfelt thank you to Angie Silverstein for all your years of service to our community. I started my public service here in Pompton on the planning board with Abby, actually, back in 2013. And then recently I served with Andy on the RDA board. You will be missed, Andy. Speaking of RDA, we did not meet this month. Our meeting is next month. And Historic Commission is meeting next week. Lastly, I want to recognize the Steel Magnolias, a Girl Scout-sponsored all-girls robotics team. They had an amazing performance last weekend, winning 4 out of 5 matches. The team is currently ranked 14 out of 52 teams in our league. The next meet is the league tournament at Del Barton on Sunday, March 22nd, and that's my report.
Just for clarification, the Historic Commission had reached out to myself and Michael about a tree that had fallen on the ice building in the back here next to Max.
Across from the library.
Across from the library, and we are going to remove that tree. So that's good news. Thank you. Borough Attorney.
Nothing this evening, Mayor.
Commissioner's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Short report. The Finance Committee is meeting on Thursday, January 30th, to have a preliminary review of our municipal budget this year. We've been working very hard on our budget over the past few months with our department heads, with our CFO and our auditor. I think we're in a good place right now, so we are meeting with the Finance Committee and expect perhaps council discussion in late February or if not early March. So that is forthcoming. And just to address Council President Polidori's question on the playground, I did speak to MRC Recreation not too long ago, and I am intending on bringing forth the proposal for the project under workshop at the next council meeting, so we can then begin the contracting phase, get it on order, and construct it this spring, late spring, early summer. So we are moving on that.
Can you just bring me up to speed on where we left off with phase 1? Are we moving phase 2 ahead of phase 1 now?
We are moving phase 2, which is the playground, ahead of phase 1 due to delays with our storage shed renovation project with the DEP permitting team. Coincidentally, I just spoke to the mayor today. We got some feedback from the DEP after we had submitted our application. And I'm going to be scheduling a meeting with our open space liaisons, Mr. Hinton and Ms. Kent, to talk about the direction that we want to move forward with the project, at which point we will bring back to you guys to make a decision on. There was some concerns with structural analyses and the flood permitting that we have to address.
So are we thinking that it's possible to see completion of phase 2 in 2025 and we might not be starting phase 1?
We are hopeful that phase 1 will be done this year.
As well as phase 2?
That's correct.
Okay, that's great.
We're doing everything we can. Phase 2 will definitely be done this year. That's the playground.
Perfect.
So I'll come back with further updates.
Any further guidance on phase 3 from the county? Do we know what the start date for the bridge is?
We don't have an official start date for the bridge. I don't believe the county went out to bid for the project yet, but they have told us that it will be completed this year. West Lenox Ave pedestrian bridge next year. So we're just going to time that up with our borough engineer to get our trails replaced, hopefully in 2026. We are looking at maybe supplemental grant funding, and it's in our open space 5-year plan as well. to provide funding for that, but that's to be seen.
And we did meet with the county 2 weeks ago to talk about flood gauges with our OEM director to see, we'd like to keep the flood gauges on the bridge, but the problem is there's no stanchions underneath to attach the flood gauge on, so we're going to see how we can work that out, because it is a vital part of what our police do during a flood event, to drive up and see that gauge and know where we are. There's more discussion with the county on how we can make that work. Any questions for the administrator? Nope. All right, up on you again, Mike. Passaic County.
Thank you. Just a simple workshop for tonight. In your packets, you have a letter from the Passaic County Engineering Department. Every year, Passaic County reaches out to its municipalities to seek input on their road resurfacing program for the preceding year. So we did get a letter from Passaic County. They're looking for feedback for their 2026 road resurfacing program. You do have a chart in your packets which delineates what roads they are replacing this year. Unfortunately, our requests from last year were not included in their plan for this year. So I just wanted to get consensus tonight. I spoke with the borough engineer and the superintendent of public works. We are again recommending to the county on a priority basis to, number one, resurface Cannonball Road in its entirety, and number two, to resurface Hamburg Turnpike from Ringwood Ave to Riverview Road, which is in pretty poor condition. And lastly, we are recommending that the county looks at all of our crosswalks on Wanacue Ave for certain improvements. So we just wanted feedback if anyone had any suggestions or concerns.
I have a question. They want to resurface Cannonball Road. Is that up to DuPont Place, or is that actually up to Mountainside Drive?
We would specifically have to look at our tax maps to see where the county jurisdiction ends, but it was our stance to replace the whole stretch of Cannonball.
I know what you mean, but we got to see if we own it.
No one really wants to own that little tiny piece of property, you know? So it's
something we can maybe convince the county to help us with.
Yep, we'll look at that tomorrow before we send in our official letter, just to put a marker on specifically where we're requesting to.
Thank you.
But thank you.
Just going back to the crosswalks, some of the county crosswalks have to be restriped, I think. You know, they always do it in the spring, but sometimes they get to it very late. They're starting to disappear now, so 2-3 months from now, we could lose some crosswalks on some major roads. So they should probably just take a look at that.
Thank you.
Any other questions about that? Nope. Okay. Motion to open the meeting for public comments.
Motion.
Councilman Bennett, Council President Polidori, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address? Please step up.
Are you going? No, he's going. No. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, Al Evangelista, speaking as a resident right now, 24 hours on a sidewalk cleaning.
Address.
Not 48.
Need an address.
Pardon me?
Address.
Ringwood Court, Pompton, New Jersey. On your question, the borough line is where our last municipal hydrant is on Cannonball Road. So when you go up Cannonball past the entrance to Mountainside, you'll see a borough hydrant on the right-hand side. That fire hydrant is ours. Okay, when we go beyond that, it becomes the DuPont property, and they had their own hydrant system in there when that plant was in operation, which their hydrants are still there, but they're not active. Okay, on your subject with the MUA, I had already met with the MUA before the fire just to meet the new superintendent and the new foreman. And we discussed those issues, and just so you know, we have, besides having an excellent municipal water system, okay, we have some major pipes on major roads, which is a great thing, and then we have branches off of them. We have 3 interconnections with 3 different towns, Passaic Valley Water, Oakland, and Wanacue, which we used during the Acme fire. We also maxed out our system. We have a 1 million gallon water tank on the mountain, okay? And the other thing is, during that fire in 1997, we were pumping 7,000 gallons a minute out of Lake Inez using 4 fire pumpers, 2 2,000 gallon per minute pumpers and 2 1500s. My point is this: we are replete with lakes and rivers around this town. So we can go to draft okay, which FDNY went back to after 9/11 because they had gotten rid of all their ability to draft. And they went back to it because the need is always there. Okay, so we can draft out of the Wanakee River. We have a draft point back there. We draft out of Hirschfield Park, anywhere where there's water. We practice down at the Pompton Lake all the time. All right, so we have that covered. And very nice gentleman to work with. The MUA's always done an excellent job in our town. And I'm very proud of them. Now, speaking of that, very proud of our residents. Mayor, I have to concur with you on this snowstorm. Okay, first of all, I put out on Facebook, and I have 3,200 likes on our site. And I know the police department put it on Facebook. Michael, I think you put something out on the borough site as well. Asking people to plan ahead, move their cars, make arrangements, get their cars off the streets. At the height of the storm, I did a windshield survey. I drove around town. And I'll tell you, the streets were empty. It was amazing how empty the streets were. I checked with the police department the next day. I believe there were 25 summonses in total that were issued, which is a phenomenal low number of summonses, which means the public listened to us. They complied. It only helps them getting their cars off the road. And that went very well. The other thing was the police chief called for a phone notification. We did a reverse phone notification. And that goes out to over 4,500 people in town. And the other thing was the cars were up the street. Now, plowing and salt at DPW did a great job. But what our residents don't understand, and people don't understand this in general, there are different types of snows. There's very wet snow, heavy, which this wasn't. It was a lighter snow. It was easy to plow, which was great. But the unfortunate part was salt doesn't work below 15 degrees. So you can salt all you want, and when it gets 15 degrees or lower, it's not going to react and work. Now, they looked at towns like they compared it to Oakland. Oakland brines their streets, okay? And that brine makes the surface slippery where the ice meets the asphalt. And that's why their roads were a little bit cleaner. It interacts with the salt that's put down, and they get a little bit more of an action of heating to melt that ice. So in some spots we were down at asphalt, other spots there weren't. Some was county, some was municipal, but in any event, overall, and I agree with you, it was just an excellent response to the storm. The other thing I'd like to say, as a resident, I'd like to talk about Ordinance 2506. That's the one amending Chapter 2 to revise general ordinances governing workplace conduct. We were distributed and given a booklet about 5 years ago in the fire department. Okay, I'm a member, long-time member there. And we had to sign for it. And it was the Policy and Procedures Handbook of the Borough of Pompton Lakes. So what I'd like to know is this ordinance amending that Policy and Procedures Handbook? Is it taking the place of it? Is it something that's not covered? Because that handbook was replete from A to Z with issues within departments like ours, especially in the area of affirmative action. All right, affirmative action is a federal law. It's not a borough ordinance. It's not a state ordinance. It's federal law. And the thing is, you just can't say, all right, we're going to talk about affirmative action. We should have training for affirmative action in the police department. If they don't have it already, the borough, the first aid squad, fire department, DPW, everybody, and we have such interaction with the public, we should have affirmative action training, number one. Number two, we signed for those. They should have the signature of the guys that receive those booklets. But most important, I want to know that that's not going to be in contrary to what this ordinance says. They've got to be part and parcel. This is a little bit, if it's related to that issue at the fire department, which I'm not going to discuss, but if it's related to that issue, it's a little bit of the barn door being closed after the horse got out. Because, you know, we've been there 100 and some years, and these issues over the years have come up and come and gone. And again, the handling of an issue is more important than the issue itself. And I think that has to be looked at. And that's all I'll say about this ordinance. Can we get copies? Are there copies of this ordinance? Are they here tonight, or do I have to pick one up?
We'll answer at the end.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Please step up.
Jay Trumbauer, 130 Legion Street. As far as the snow removal, I think everybody did pretty good. Can you guys tow a car It's been abandoned there for a couple of months, across from my house. If you want to know which one it is, it's the one with all the snow still on top of it. Mayor, you brought up a couple months ago about the YMCA in Wayne. Just wanted to see if there's any progress with that. And just seeing if we were gonna talk about the cameras at the parks you brought up a couple months ago. It was like $190,000 they were gonna talk about. Just any progress on that.
Sure. Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session?
Motion.
Second.
Councilman Hinton and Councilwoman Kilburg. All in favor?
Aye.
Against. Al, thank you for all the nice comments. I agree with everything you said about what we were talking about, the storm and all the other stuff. The handbook, I'm going to let Michael jump on that a little bit because we've updated that handbook, correct? Or will be updating that handbook.
I believe that the matter might be more appropriate for a closed session.
Okay.
But yes, it works in conjunction with the handbook.
All right, so we'll get more back to you on that. We're going to have a closed session on that. Jay, thank you. To start with, if a car is unregistered or unlicensed, you can call the police department if they don't have an updated registration or a license plate on the car. They can tow the car and then it would be removed. So you could always call the police department and have them just take a look to see if they even do that, and they can do that. The YMCA, yeah, we're working out the final agreement. There will be that will be happening. I'm understanding I spoke to the mayor again that they're just putting the final touches together and what the costs are going to be. And I think that we're going to talk about some internal fees that we might be picking up, and then our residents, yes, will be able to use it. Cameras, any update on the cameras, Mike?
Bond ordinance for the next council meeting.
Bond ordinance for next council, okay, great. Okay, personnel, no. Privilege of the floor, I'm sorry, privilege of the floor. Okay, thank you. Motion to adjourn into closed session.
Motion.
Council President Polidori, Councilman Bennett, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Thank you, everyone, for coming. See you.
Good night.
See you, Frank. Closed session.
Motion.
Councilman Bennett, Council President Polidori. Yeah, okay. In closed session, we discussed personnel. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Councilman Bennett, Councilwoman Kilburg, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Okay, thanks.